Tez.
Welcome to the Tez Down. Welcome.
I'm the Tez.
Mic check 1 2. Welcome. Welcome to the Tez Down. Party time. Oh yeah, welcome to the Tez Down. I am Tez. That's me. It is True Crime Monday, everybody, and I'm glad to see y'all faces in here already, bright early this morning. What's up, Soft Rain? How you doing? It's gonna be one banger of a show today, so we gonna go ahead and make it happen, Captain. That's what we're gonna do. I got what do I got for you guys today? It's La Cosa Nostra day on the True Crime Monday, but we must start today with a Bears game. Bears versus Packers. We've been talking a whole lot of crap about that young boy Caleb Williams. We're gonna go ahead and show you a little bit from Caleb Williams and what he did to the Green Bay Packers over the last couple of days. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And then we're going to go into La Cosa Nostra. So thank you guys for coming in so far. Thank you guys for the likes that you guys are throwing out there. Thank you guys for supporting the Tez. I hope y'all liked my new intro. I thought it was pretty cool myself. I thought it was pretty cool. I really did. So let's go ahead and see what's going on. Break this down as I'm watching it. All right, we got a 16-16 tie. It's overtime. Caleb Williams throwing the ball deep. That ball's caught. That ball's caught. That ball's caught. And that's a game winner. Really means for the Chicago Bears. They've already secured the number 1 seed. And by securing the number one seed in their division, they're in the number 2 overall. They have a chance to have the number 1 seed. The Bears could potentially finish first in the NFC. And that's fantastic if they do. You know, I'm down for it. You know, I'm hoping that you know everything can go the way that we need it to go and the way that we want it to go. Because this is going to be great if it does for the city of Chicago. So I wore my Bears jersey for the first time this weekend, and it looks like it paid off for the Chicago Bears, and it definitely paid off for me. So this is fun being able to see this nice little layout that I got here. I think that looks pretty cool. If I do say so myself, Billy, if you do show up, no, you cannot buy my hoodie. This is my hoodie. I wore it on purpose. So the guy that we're going to be hearing from today is Sammy Gravano. If y'all ever heard about Sammy Gravano is nicknamed Sammy the Bull. And Sammy the Bull, we're going to see exactly what he did in La Cosa Nostra. In the mob, that's what we're going to see. We're going to see exactly what Sammy did. So without further ado, let's get started on our True Crime Monday true crime story. Let's make that happen for us. That's exactly what we're going to do.
Rest of the family and bosses and underbosses of the other families. I think we totaled over 38 convictions. He arguably led to the demise of organized crime in New York.
When the former Gambino underboss decided to reveal the truth about legendary Michael Franzese,
what's up, Billy? How you doing,
everyone
man?
was left in shock. The question, what was he really like while in the mafia? With his answer, Sammy Gravano just tore down one of the most carefully protected stories in mob history. For decades, Michael built a clean image as the good mobster, the man who walked away from the life without betraying anyone.
Sammy the Bull was a street thug who grew up in Bensonhurst. He gravitated towards the world of organized crime as a young boy.
But according to Sammy, that image hides something much darker. In a single interview, he hinted that his escape wasn't luck, faith, or redemption. It was something else no one ever dared to mention. Until now. So, was Michael Franzese ever really clean? Let's find out. Behind the facade. Michael Franzese managed to do something almost no one in organized crime ever pulled off. He became a legend without being feared or hated. Back in the day, he was the businessman, the one who supposedly used his brains instead of bullets. And when he left the life behind, he did it without pushing anyone under the bus. To the public, that image became his armor. People saw him as the mobster who made millions without the bloodshed. The man who turned the mafia into a corporate boardroom and left it all behind without a bloody trail. Michael himself leaned into that narrative. In interviews and appearances after leaving the life, he described himself as someone who never hurt anyone and walked away clean. "I never sent anyone to jail," he often said. He claimed he wanted to prove that a man could be part of that world and still keep his morals intact. For a long time, it worked. Fans bought into the idea that he had been smarter than everyone else.
Yeah, they
He
did.
outplayed both the government and the mafia. During his rise, Michael became one of the highest-earning members of the Colombo crime family, often referred to as a capo regime, a captain who ran lucrative rackets under the family's umbrella. His empire centered around a multi-million-dollar gasoline tax scam during the late 1970s and early 1980s. According to law enforcement reports, the operation defrauded the government of hundreds of millions by exploiting loopholes in fuel taxation. Michael's crew would buy fuel from wholesalers.
So here's what I'm starting to see. So one of my major issues has not just been the mob itself and what they've done and the people that they've taken out and ended in that type of situation. No, one of my issues that I've always noticed and what I've always seen is that it seems to me that for the most part they are choosing other alternative ways to not just defraud the government, but to also pay less money and less taxes and to get things done in the community that they live in. I'm not glorifying it at all. I'm just saying that like maybe they had some things figured out that some of the other agencies didn't know. And it's hard to fault them because of everything that was going on and the way that the government was squeezing their businesses while they were doing things, especially back in some of the older times. So that's not an endorsement. That's not me saying that I think that it's okay. That's me saying that I think that they're a little bit more, forthcoming than what people might assume. That's just, an opinion that I might hold. We're gonna see.
Sell it to retailers, and then disappear before the tax bill came due. The profits were staggering. At one point, Michael was reportedly earning up to $8 million a week. That kind of money made him a target, both from within and outside the organization. Yet, unlike other mob figures of his era, Michael avoided the typical signs of the life. No flashy violence, no public hits. He lived well, but he kept the chaos contained. That restraint became part of his legend. Still, insiders whispered that the truth wasn't as clean as Michael made it sound. Some said his gas tax fortune wasn't just built on clever accounting, but also on protection. The kind that came from men who enforced his business with fists and guns. Former associates claimed that in New York, no one moved that kind of money without paying tribute to those capable of violence. Even as the FBI built cases around the gas tax scheme, Michael maintained his composure. When he eventually pleaded guilty to racketeering charges in 1986, he served about 8 years before being released in 1994. By then, many expected him to vanish, like most who walked away from that world. But he didn't. He reinvented himself. After his release, Michael built a second career as a motivational speaker and author. He toured churches, schools, and conferences across the country, sharing stories about redemption and faith. He wrote several books and appeared in documentaries, telling people how he found God and left the life behind.
To
To his audiences, he became
I'm
the
gonna pause
ultimate
it right
symbol
there.
of trans.
I'm probably I'm gonna have to say it. I'm gonna say it. I become so annoyed every time that someone does some of this crazy stuff that they do. Oh man, I messed up my camera. But I become annoyed every time that these people do this crazy stuff that they do, and then the minute that they get caught and return back to their life, they decide that they want to be so holier than thou, so godly. They want to just turn to Jesus to wipe away all the mess that I've done over all this time and all the people that I've hurt. It's so annoying that this happens every single time. And it's almost as if they think that they're going to be able to just return to normal life because, oh, you know what? I'm not a crim anymore. I'm not out here in organized crime. I'm not out here, doing the same stuff that I was doing before. And guess what? I got a dose of Jesus. I ate some of the sacrament. It's like your earthly crimes are not absolved just because you picked up an old book. They're not. You can't do like and then they always want to blast about it and talk about it. And this is why, even if you're not a religious person, you would view the entire religion and the people that are portraying it as, oh, they're a changed man. Yes, they might be a changed man, but they still got to pay for what they did. It's seriously a mess.
Transformation. The mobster who got out without ratting. But that's where the tension began. Because Sammy Gravano didn't believe it. Sammy's name carried a very different kind of weight. Known as the Bull, he made his reputation through violence. He was John Gotti's underboss in the Gambino family, one of the most powerful mafia organizations in America. Sammy admitted to participating in or ordering 19 murders, and his reputation was that of a man who would do whatever it took to maintain order and loyalty. When the government finally caught up with Gotti and him in the early 1990s, Sammy made the decision that changed everything. He flipped. His testimony helped convict Gotti, ending the reign of the so-called Teflon Don. To law enforcement, Sammy was the ultimate witness. To the underworld, he was the ultimate traitor. Yet, Sammy owned it. He never denied what he did. He told his story in detail, the hits, the betrayals, the power games, on his podcast and in interviews. He said he cooperated because Gotti had already betrayed him, and that survival meant doing what was necessary. What bothered...
So, AKA, he snitched. I want you guys to understand that completely. He did snitch. That's what he did. Yeah, $8 million a week. We're talking about people who are making $8 million a week doing what they were doing illegally. What's up, Kay? How you doing? Nice to see you in the building. Nice to see you in the building, Kay. How you feeling? We got Billy up in here. What's up, Billy? How you doing? Nice to see you in here too. Oh yeah, thanks, Kay. I appreciate you, man. But yeah, this guy snitched. So basically, all these old guys, you know what they look like? I'm gonna say all these old white guys, they're in here talking about their crimes on podcasts all the time. And they're just, well, yeah, we know it's over with. I was able to, sign a deal with the government to not face any time. We know. Passport Skull, what's up, Skull? You in the building? We know exactly what was going on here. I know exactly what was going on here. You guys know exactly what was going on here. They were all doing that. Let me go see if I can get you guys one of these. Thank you. Because that's exactly what we're going to need every single time we see some crazy stuff like this. Yeah, that's the heart beating. So let's go. Let's keep it moving. We're going to hear the story.
Sammy was hypocrisy. So when Michael built a brand around the idea that he never cooperated, Sammy took that personally. In his view, anyone who walked free after federal charges must have given something in return. During one of his podcasts, Sammy made some hints. According to insiders who've known both men, this tension ran deep. There's respect there, but not trust, one person said. They know they're from the same world, but they live by different codes now. Behind closed doors, that mix of mutual recognition and quiet resentment lingered for years. Sammy reportedly said that Michael acts like he's above the rest, like he found a loophole in the life. And maybe that's why their feud hit such a nerve, because it forced people to ask a question the mafia never liked to answer. Can anyone truly leave clean? And as the back and forth grew louder, one thing became clear. Sammy wasn't done talking. There was something he knew, something he had kept to himself for years, and now he was ready to reveal it. The storm before the fall. Before the cameras, the interviews, and the podcasts where Sammy Gravano revealed what Michael Franzese was really like while in the mafia, there was a world built on silence. A world where respect was earned in blood or in dollars, and where breaking that silence could mean the end. Inside that world rose two men who couldn't have been more different, yet somehow were destined to clash. Michael Franzese and Sammy Gravano. Michael grew up in a world where the rules were written by men who ran New York from the shadows. His father, John Sonny Franzese, was a feared underboss in the Colombo crime family. From an early age, Michael saw the way power worked, in social clubs, in envelopes of cash, and in whispered deals behind closed doors. After his father was sent to prison, Michael stepped into the life almost naturally. Insiders later said he had a sharp mind for business and a rare sense of discipline for someone raised in chaos. While most young soldiers earned their keep through hijackings and gambling, Michael saw a bigger opportunity, an opportunity that would bring in millions without a single bullet fired. By the late 1970s and early 1980s, he had perfected what became known as the gas tax scheme. The plan was deceptively simple: buy gasoline in bulk, sell it to gas stations across the East Coast, and avoid paying the federal and state taxes that were owed on.
So for those of you who don't understand what that's called, that is called a racket. That's called a racket. So I know a lot of people are wondering, what is a racket? What is that doing? This is a racket. This is when you come up with a scheme to basically tax your people, but without paying the government. And this is exactly what they did. This was like their bread and butter, finding new rackets to put up.
Each gallon. The unpaid tax money turned into profit, an ocean of it. According to investigators, the operation was raking in as much as $8 million a week at its height. Michael's network stretched from New York to Florida, with shell companies set up to keep the money flowing and the authorities confused. Even federal prosecutors admitted that the scale of the operation was something they had never seen before. He became known as the Yuppie Don, wearing sharp suits, driving luxury cars, and living a life that looked more like Wall Street than the mafia's old Brooklyn roots. But in the shadows of another family, a very different kind of power was rising. Sammy Gravano, known on the streets as the Bull, had climbed the ranks of the Gambino crime family with a reputation built on violence and loyalty. His rise came through blood, not business. He was known as the man who got things done when others hesitated. By the time he became underboss, his name carried weight that few dared to challenge. In 1985, the mob world shifted when Paul Castellano, boss of the Gambino family, was gunned down outside Sparks Steakhouse in Manhattan. According to multiple reports and court testimonies, Sammy was deeply involved in planning that hit, a move that cleared the path for John Gotti to take control. From that moment, Sammy became a national name.
I mean, I think even after we do this today, we're going to have to take some time to look at some of these other families and some of these other connections. So already we've got a bunch of names. We've got the Gambino crime family. We've got the Chicago outfit. We've got the Las Vegas outfit. We've got Michael Francese. I do not know how to say that man's name for real. We got Sammy the Bull Gravano. And so far, this is where we're at. We're talking about them bringing in $8 million a week. Yeah, we do. Her trial should have been what, last week? Matter of fact, Rain, if you send me something on this, we can cover it towards the end today because we're gonna have time. We're gonna watch this for a couple more minutes, guys, and see what where this breakdown is and where Sammy fits in, and then we're gonna watch Sammy Gravano testify to the U.S. Senate. It's going to be huge. I haven't seen it yet. It's going to be. I have never watched it, and it's rare that you ever see this footage, especially if you're not looking for it. So we're going to do it together.
To law enforcement, he was the man behind the bloodiest takeover in modern mob history. To his peers, he was proof that power could be taken, not just inherited. While Michael was counting millions, Sammy was enforcing rules with violence. One controlled fuel depots and accountants. The other commanded killers and crews. They lived in the same city, operated in the same era, yet their paths never quite crossed. Not yet. Each man represented a different side of the same coin. One with brains, one with brutality. Still, both shared one truth. Power always came at a cost. Federal agents were closing in on every family, planting bugs in clubhouses, flipping informants, and using racketeering laws to bring down.
Well, I mean, what did you think was going to happen? We could come back. It's time to see what he had to say. We're going to see what the man had to say himself. That's what I want to see. I want to see what he said that made them all so mad at him and how he was able to
Each man represented a different side.
Going to prison for the rest of his life. We're going to find out, and we're going to find out right now. This feedback isn't mine, guys. It is of the broadcast.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
If you would remain standing, please. Our first witness is Salvador Gravano. Mr. Gravano is currently in federal custody and cooperating with the government while awaiting sentencing. Mr. Gravano has testified as a government witness in several major trials and will be testifying in additional upcoming cases. Given the sensitive nature of Mr. Gravano's position as a cooperating witness, we have agreed to limit his testimony to matters relating to professional boxing. We appreciate the cooperation of all subcommittee members.
You see what they're doing already? They're already starting off the wrong foot by saying we're not going to ask him certain questions. Let's just ask him about boxing because we know that boxing is fixed. Boxing is still fixed to this day, guys, in certain ways. So, I mean, you know what? Let's let it go. Let's let it go. Let's see what slop they decide to shovel down our throats all these years later. This was in 1993. He went from being Sammy the Bull to Sammy the Rat Gravano.
Abiding by this understanding.
Mr. Gravano, we swear in all the witnesses before this subcommittee, so if you'll hold up your right hand, I'll give you the oath. You swear the testimony you give before this subcommittee will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do. Thank you. You can be seated. Go ahead. Mr. Gravano, you have an attorney with you today.
Mr. Chairman, my name is John Gleason. I'm an assistant United States attorney in Brooklyn, New York.
Okay.
Chief of the Organized Crime Section, and I'm supervising the criminal investigations in which Mr. Gravano is participating. I've worked with the staff of the subcommittee in facilitating his appearance here today.
We
He
appreciate
is
that.
represented by counsel. Obviously, it's not me.
Right. Thank you. We appreciate your cooperation. Senator Raw.
Sure. Gravano, would you please proceed with your testimony?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, and members of the
Pull
subcommittee.
that microphone right up and talk directly into it. You can get it right in front of you, maybe tilt it up a little bit where you can speak into it. Take your
Everybody
time
has mic issues,
and
guys.
just talk right into the mic.
Okay, thank you very much.
We have to be a little bit closer. Try again.
How's that?
I think even closer.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the subcommittee. My name is Salvatore Gravano. Early in my life, I was given the nickname Sammy the Bull. I have been in jail since December of 1990, when I was arrested with John Gotti. I was his underboss and second of command of the Gambino family. I have been involved with organized crime since 1968, when I became associated with a guy named Shorty Spiro of the Colombo family. I committed many types of crimes when I was with Shorty, including my first murder. In 1972, I was officially released from the Colombo family to the Gambino family. I became a made member of the Gambino family in 1976. At that time, Paul Castellano was the boss of the Gambino family. In December of 1995, John Gotti, I, along with some others, murdered Paul Castellano. We took over the family. John Gotti became the boss. A couple of weeks later, I became a captain. In 1987, I became acting Gunzlier of our family. I later became the official Gunzlier. In January of 1990, I accepted the position of official underboss, which I held until I began to cooperate with the government in 1991. I decided to cooperate before we, meaning me, John Gotti, and our acting Gunzlier, Frank Locascio, went to trial. I testified in that trial and some others. I'll be testifying at more trials in the near future. As part of my deal with the government, I pleaded guilty to a charge that has a 20-year maximum sentence rather than the life sentence that I was facing if convicted at trial. As part of my cooperation, I told the government about my life of crimes, including the fact that I participated in 19 murders. As a member of our family's administration, I helped John Gotti run the family. My primary responsibility was controlling the construction industry in New York. I did this by working with union officials and companies that were owned or controlled by our family, and by dealing with other families who also controlled certain unions and companies. I have been asked to testify here today about the mob's involvement in professional boxing. I don't know much about what other families have been doing in boxing, but I do know about our family. The Gambino family has basically gotten out of boxing sometime around or before 1960. We were involved in other things that made more money, but I have always had an interest in boxing. I boxed a little when I was in the Army, and I picked it up again a few years before I was arrested. I would go to Gleason's gym in Brooklyn every week and work out. Sometimes I would go a few rounds with other people who trained there. I often attended fights in New York and New Jersey, including the Mike Tyson-Larry Holmes fight in 1988 in Atlantic City, which I attended with John Gotti. I got to know a heavyweight named Ronaldo Snipes and his manager, who I knew as Sal. I tried to set up a fight between Snipes and Francisco Damiani, who was the undefeated European and WBO heavyweight champ. Damiani was with an organized crime family in Italy. Since our family had close ties with the Italian family, I was able to set up a meeting with Damiani's people. They came to New York and we discussed the possibility of a fight with Snipes. At that time, Damiani was already scheduled to fight Ray Mercer. One of the things I did to try to arrange a Damiani-Snipes fight was to reach out to set up a meeting with a guy who was in charge of boxing for Donald Trump. I believe his name was Mark Edis.
Oh, we can't.
Snipes.
Hey, we cannot. We cannot overlook that. I'm going to go back. We're going to hear that again.
Has basically gotten out of boxing sometime around or before 1960. We were involved in other things that made more money. But I've always had an interest in boxing. I boxed a little when I was in the Army, and I picked it up again a few years before I was arrested. I would go to Gleason's gym in Brooklyn every week and work out. Sometimes I would go a few rounds with other people who trained there. I often attended fights in New York and New Jersey, including the Mike Tyson-Larry Holmes fight in 1988 in Atlantic City, which I attended with John Gotti. I got to know a heavyweight named Ronaldo Snipes and his manager, who I knew as Sal. I tried to set up a fight between Snipes and Francisco Damiani, who was the undefeated European and WBO heavyweight champ. Damiani was with an organized crime family in Italy. Since our family had close ties with the Italian family, I was able to set up a meeting with Damiani's people. They came to New York and we discussed the possibility of a fight with Snipes. At that time, Damiani was already scheduled to fight Ray Mercer. One of the things I did to try to arrange a Damiani-Snipes fight was to reach out to set up a meeting with a guy who was in charge of boxing for Donald Trump. I believe his name was Mark Edis. Snipes, his manager Sal, and I met with this Mark in Atlantic City. He told us that a fight between Damiani and...
Mind you guys, this was 1993 at this point. Trump's concrete contracts. That's what it's starting to sound like, right?
Snipes would sell. Mark thought it would be even bigger if Snipes had a high ranking with one of boxing sanctioning bodies. Joe Watts, who was an associate in our family, told me that he had someone in Las Vegas who could help us get a ranking for Snipes. Watts arranged a meeting for me with Joey Curtis, a boxing referee in Las Vegas. Joey Curtis has once visited our club, the Ravenite Social Club in New York City. So I went to Las Vegas with two of my friends and our wives. After we had dinner with Curtis, I took him aside and asked him if he can get Snipes moved up in the rankings. Curtis said he could move Snipes up in the rankings of the World Boxing Council, which is based in Mexico. Curtis said that this would cost $10,000, but because it was a favor for John Gotti, he might be able to get it done for about $5,000. My idea all along was to use Damiani-Snipes fight as a setup fight to get Damiani a big payday against Mike Tyson. My plan was for Snipes to have a high ranking and then make it look good, but lose to Damiani. I never discussed this with Snipes because Damiani lost to Mercer, which put Damiani out of the picture for a major fight. I'm sure that we would have had no problem in convincing Snipes to lose. Another boxer our family has an interest in is Buddy McGirt, who recently lost his WBC welterweight title. His manager is Al Cerdo, who is a Gambino family associate. Al Cerdo is with Jojo Carrazzo, who is a made member of our family. I know Al Cerdo is with our family because Jojo put it on record with his captain, Peter Gotti. Also, a beef came up between our family and the Buffalino family about who McGirt was with. Eddie Scandria, the gunslinger of the Buffalino family, complained to John Gotti that the Buffalinos had a piece of McGirt. Gotti told me to arrange a meeting with Scandria and Jojo to resolve the beef. I actually had several meetings with Jojo and Scandria about this. Jojo said that he had paid Scandria some money to walk away from McGirt. But now Scandria wanted back in because McGirt had done...
Look, I'm telling you right now, I always feel like one of the funniest names in the world is McGirt. I don't know why I think that name is so funny. Maybe it's because I used to watch this show on Adult Swim called Home Movies. But the name McGirt just always makes me laugh. And every time he says it, like I want to chuckle so bad, but I'm trying my best to not do that. But as we can see right now, this dude is naming names. He's naming all types of names. I find it funny, but when we review it once again, President Trump, who wasn't the president at the time, wasn't named directly. So before anyone tries to jump down my throat, well, he didn't say Trump directly. Yeah, I know he didn't. He didn't say him directly. No, he did not. He was just implied that people who work for Trump under Trump's boxing association that he was running at the time, his promotion, were the people that he was affiliated with. This is 1993. You know, he's bringing this back all the way to 88. So at the very least, we do know that people who worked for the current president were involved with mafiosos and La Cosa Nostra, which doesn't surprise me one bit. Considering everything that we've been able to find out over the last couple of years and all of the stuff that's coming out in the media right now, I'm pretty sure that he knew a little bit more than what he knows right now, which is probably not as much. You know, I'm not just sitting here just to dump on the president or anything, but like, you know, you know what we always say, right? If you are someone who is involved with any type of nefarious activity, and you're involved with the type of people who are doing lots of nefarious activity, the odds are that you're nefarious too. I'm just keeping it 100 here. And maybe we need to listen to more because there might be some more stuff that comes out that are bombshells. We're not going to watch the entire thing, guys. We're going to watch something about him next after this, but we're not going to watch the entire thing, obviously. But we're going to listen to a little bit more of his testimony. And I'm sure this isn't even the meat and potatoes part yet.
Well, and was getting bigger purses. After hearing both of them, I recommended to John Gotti that JoJo was right and that McGirt should stay with JoJo and our family. Eddie Scandria was not satisfied with my decision and kept coming back for more meetings. I got tired of meeting with Scandria about this, but out of respect for his position and age, we had Frank Locascio, who was part of our administration, continue to talk to him. But our position never changed. Serto and McGirt stayed with our family. I should point out that the person who was really with us was Al Serto. His relationship with Jojo Carrazzo is how we had a piece of McGirt. McGirt is a fighter, and although Serto brought him by the club once to introduce him to some people, it wouldn't really be fair for me to say that he was an associate of organized crime. But Serto was with us, and that gave us our interest in McGirt. Our family was not the only family in boxing. Although I do not know the details, I know several other families are involved in boxing in some way. But you should know that our involvement in boxing has changed from the way it used to be. A lot of people think that organized crime makes its money by fixing fights and betting on the winner. That really doesn't happen anymore. The prices have gotten so big, it doesn't make sense to fix a fight in order to collect a bet. While we would consider fixing a fight in order to set up for a big payday fight, like I had in mind for Damiani, the money is in the purses, not in the betting.
Okay, so we've actually uncovered a truth here that I didn't know before. You know, I've always assumed that boxing had a lot of let's just say we're just gonna call it what it is. We've already assumed that a lot of boxers take dives, but he said the money is in the purse. So if you guys don't know what a fight purse is what there's a total amount of money that is allocated for both fighters. The two fighters get together and they agree on how much of the split is. If you're on the A side of the fight, you might take 60 or more, unless you're the one that's trying to go the B side of the fight to fight. The odds are you're going to end up taking the bulk of this fight if you're on the A side. The A side is usually the bigger name. So, for example, a couple of fights ago, we did a breakdown and we did a prediction before the fight started for Terrence Bud Crawford and Saul Canelo Alvarez. We did that one, and we learned that the A side of the fight was Canelo. Obviously, Canelo was the 4-division, 5-belt, undisputed champion in that weight class. And Crawford was coming to try to unseat Canelo. He did. But even though he was coming, he won the fight. He didn't get the more money from the fight. Canelo got the majority of the money from the fight because Canelo was the A side. Now, to be honest, if they were to fight again, I wouldn't think that would be the same. He said the money is in the distribution. Yeah, the money is in the distribution. You know, always bet on black. You know, I definitely bet on Crawford that night. I did not bet on Saul Canelo Alvarez. I didn't bet on Canelo that night. You know, I can say that honestly because I'm not in boxing like that. You know, I am not a member of the WBC, the WBA, or the WBO. I am independent and I am not professional. So I just had to put that disclaimer out there. You know, if anybody was watching, you know, I do have some fans that come over just for boxing stuff, but this is pretty cool that this ties in with boxing. But he's telling you guys straight up, the boxers don't take fights to dive because of Vegas. It's all about the purse.
Besides, boxing is a risky business for bookmakers. You couldn't bet big money on a fight even if you wanted to. So the interest today is getting a piece of a successful boxer. Until a boxer reaches a certain level, there is not much money to be made because the purses are small. But once a boxer becomes successful, the family that has him can profit from that success. Now, because of the size of the purses have gotten so big over the past 20 years, organized crime is more and more interested in getting back into it. At this time, I will be happy to answer any questions that you might have about organized crime and boxing.
Thank you, Mr. Gravano, and I'll ask you just a few questions and then turn to Senator Roth and my colleagues. You state here that you, quote, you couldn't bet big money on a fight even if you wanted to, end quote. What do you call big money?
I would imagine from anywhere from 40, 50,000 and up.
You can't place bets any larger than $30,000, $40,000 on a fight today?
Not with bookmakers in the street. No, they probably wouldn't take that kind of action.
And has that changed over the years? You could bet big money in the past and can't now, or what?
Yes, years ago the purses were rather small, and they would filter out the betting, and they were more likely to get the bet in years ago than they are today.
Why is it that bookmakers won't take big bets on fights today? Do they worry about the fights being fixed? What are they worrying about?
They worry. I would imagine they worry about fights being one-sided. I don't know as far as being fixed, but some of the fights are total mismatches, and they really wouldn't want to get involved in the action of it.
And there's no way to establish odds. Is that right? When you got a mismatch?
Well, they do, but they won't take big money. They'll take small money, 1,000, 2,000, maybe 5,000, maybe even 10,000 if you find a fairly large bookmaking operation. But I really don't believe that they would go overboard in with bets on.
When did that change? What time period? And what caused it to change?
I
They've
would
always been
imagine,
one-sided fights, have they not?
but I would imagine that they walked away. When organized crime walked away from the boxing industry, I believe our betting slowed down. I believe the whole thing stopped in that area.
When did organized crime walk away from the boxing industry?
In the time when Rocky Marciano and people like that were involved, our people, meaning mob people, were involved, and we had closer ties to boxing, and I would imagine there was a lot more betting and a lot more situations. Bookmaking and bookmakers, I think, became a little more sophisticated. There's even some tracks, horse betting races, and some tracks that they would stay away from and they wouldn't take action on. There was also some games that they wouldn't take action on, but they might take action on, if you wanted to call a knockout, which round or something like that, which would make the bet very, very hard and complicated.
And what?
Not to change pace, but this actually makes a lot of sense as to why Pete Rose was so mad for so many years, because Pete Rose only bet on himself to win, and sometimes he didn't. This is a literal snitch letting everyone know that, hey, that's not how things are working. Like, you guys think that works this way. It hasn't worked that way in 40 years or so.
What were the ventures that were so profitable that organized crime basically decided to walk away from boxing after the Marciano era? What things shifted in organized crime then? Was that when organized crime started getting into narcotics, or what were the things that were so lucrative that organized crime lost interest in boxing?
I believe at that time, organized crime became more sophisticated. We got into unions, construction, shipping, garment, garbage, and they became a lot more lucrative than the boxing industry. The prices were very, very small.
Would that have been in the 1950 time frame?
50s, 60s, yes. That's why I said in the 60s and before.
Right. When did organized crime get back into boxing?
Well, over a period of time recently, we've had an interest. Again, talking about my own family, going down to Gleason's gym, I met some fighters and tried to put something together. I had conversation with John Gotti and myself, and John had urged me to see if we can reach out and put together some possible gyms or promoters or fights and see if we can get back involved in the boxing industry. In that period, I found out that we would be able to reach certain people who are rather successful in the boxing industry, and I felt that given enough time, we would be able to go back into it.
And during what time frame was that when you had these discussions with John?
This was a while, maybe a year, maybe a little bit more before I was arrested. and stopped, maybe even a little bit before that.
So it's
More coming up from Sammy the Bull, but as you guys can see, the mafia had their hands in just about every cookie jar that existed. You know, that's not something that you want to take lightly. You know, in the years since this has happened, um, this guy, Sammy the Bull Gravano, has decided that he wanted to become a canary. And a canary is somebody who sings for the powers that be. Singing for the powers that be is telling all the stories about everything all the time. And when he discovered that he could go on YouTube and give podcasts and stuff like that, he decided that's what he's going to do. He said, I'm going to go on the internet and I'm going to tell all these stories because I've already done my time and they can no longer prosecute me for anything else. He got immunity for the bulk of what he's did, which is why he's a free man today. He's in WITSEC, which is witness protection. And this is some of his stories that he's going to tell. He's going to tell a story right now.
Hey guys, you're going to notice that I'm in a different spot than I usually am. I'm really working hard on my podcast. I'm using that studio. There's all kinds of cameras. I'm doing all kinds of stuff to make you a podcast that'll blow you away.
Don't blow
So
me
right
away.
now, I'm videoing in this new spot.
I don't want to
I'll
be
be back
blown
there
away
at a
by
bit of
Sammy
time.
the Bull. Not at
This
all.
is a Gumbada Alley Boy story. When we got arrested on a double homicide, we got out of prison. The old man, Johnny Rizzo, a made guy in the Gambino family, I heard his name mentioned a bunch of times, wanted to help us out. He had a friend who had a luncheonette, and he would sell it to us real cheap so that we could pick up a few dollars. The rest of the money for the bail bondsmen, the lawyers, we would have to go robbing at night anyway, but this would help us to take care of our families and stuff. So we bought it. We got in pretty cheap. We had to borrow money, but we borrowed the money and we bought it. We had it for a couple of days, maybe a week. We didn't get too much traffic. I guess when the people who had it left, a lot of the customers more or less left with them. That's just the way it is. So the people in the neighborhood had to get used to us, get to know us. And Alley Boy had an idea. He came to me, he says, Goomba, I got a great idea. He says, around the corner, there's a bar. We can go in there. It's pretty crowded at night. I passed it a few times. Meet the people, buy them a drink, introduce ourselves, make them know who we are. They like us, they'll come in. And like I told you, I think once before, this neighborhood was mostly Irish, Polish, Germans, not Italians, very few Italians. So maybe that was keeping them out, who knows? So I said, all right, that's a good idea, let's go in there. So we got done that night and we went in the bar. We sat there and we started talking to people and give them a drink, give all those people over there a drink. And we're buying everybody a drink, we're talking and we're laughing and everything's going really good. And they were playing this game at the bar. The owner of the bar, it was a little rubber bottle. And inside the bottle there was dice. And they would spill it out. There was 5 dice in it. So if you had 2 deuces and 2 threes, you had 2 pair. And it's poker, but by throwing the dice on the bar. So we were playing and we put up some money, who wins the pot and stuff. And so we put up the money in this pot. The owner of the place was sitting right next to me on my left. And my Gumbada Alley Boy was right on the other side of him. And we were still buying people drinks and laughing and talking. And it was okay. My Gumbada Alley Boy had a full house. I think he had 3 threes and a pair of whatever, 4s, a full house. So I put up an extra $20 outside the pot. And I said, I'll bet nobody beats him. And people bet and on the side. So one guy went, he didn't beat him. Next guy went, he didn't beat him. Next guy went, he didn't beat him. I went last, and I got 4 of a kind, and I beat him. So I took all the 20s, it came to about $100, and I took the pot, it was another $30, $40, whatever it was. and put it in a stack on top of the little stack of money I had in front of me. And we're still all laughing, smiling, give everybody a drink. And the owner, pretty big guy, tall guy, he grabbed my money, the whole stack, and put it on top of his money. So I smiled, I laughed, I figured he's clowning or playing. And then I said, "What are you doing?" I had a little smile on my face. I wasn't
What are you
mad.
doing?
I wasn't sure what he was doing. And he said, "This is my bar. This is the way it goes. Now I think you should get the fuck out." I couldn't even believe my ears. I looked at him, and I looked past him to Ollie Boy. Ollie Boy was on the other end. He was looking at me, and he went with his shoulders, picked his shoulders up. I know what that meant. We both threw a punch at the same identical time, and we caught him on both sides.
Ooh.
Really, really good shots. They hit simultaneously, which was really a matter of luck. Not for him. His face exploded. Teeth went flying. He went right down like a sack of potatoes. There was dead quiet in the place, and there was all giggling. A couple of people were smiling. Ollie Boy looked at me and says, "Gumba, go get your friend in the car." Now, my friend was a 38 revolver. So I said, "All right, Gumba." I went to my car, and I got the gun.
That's one type of friend to have, isn't it? He said, "Go get your friend. Go get your friend. It's a 38 special." This guy is incorrigible already. He still has a smile on his face talking about him exploding somebody else's face.
Came back in, and I locked the door. I started walking behind them. A couple of you people thought it was funny when he took my money. You still think it's funny? And I started banging them on the head with the gun, slaps. I mean, we just took over this bar. Not only did I take the owner's, all of his.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a friendly reminder that your government and tax dollars are protecting this guy right now. This guy that's telling a story about brutalizing an entire bar full of people is being protected by your tax dollars and witness protection.
Money. We were taking everybody else's money. Telling them, "Go in your pockets, put your money on the bar." I went, while Ollie Boy was doing that, around the bar, behind the bar. There was a barmaid. She panicked. "Please, please, I'm pregnant." "Good. Get out of the way. Open the register and get out of the way. This ain't about you. Mind your business." I took all the money out of the register. 3 or 4 guys got a good crack in the fucking face with the butt of the gun. We looked at everybody. Does anybody want to laugh? You just want to keep your jewelry? You could have heard a pin drop. Nobody was laughing. Wasn't funny. I remember there was a woman that I came by her. She was literally panic stricken. I told her, "Don't worry. You're not going to get hurt. Is this your drink?" She had a little shot glass full with something. "Yeah." "Good. You mind if I take a sip?" No, you can take it all." "Good." I took it, downed it. I said, "Gumba, let's go." We opened the door and we walked out. We got in the car and we pulled away and we were going away. Ollie Boy didn't say nothing. I didn't say nothing for a while. And then I said, "Gumba, it's a nice bar."
Yeah, Mikey, it was
How do
Chicago.
you think we did?
I believe so.
Think the neighborhood knows us now? You think they like us? Think they're going to come in and eat in our little luncheonette? Or did we fuck up again? We're out on bail on a double fucking murder, and we just took over a whole bar and beat up all kinds of people.
Mikey says, this is why we have pension problems. The mob moved into the unions and started this cycle. The mob going legit has cost us millions as taxpayers. It has cost us so much money because our government is protecting these guys who were doing this stuff for all of those years. This guy should be spending the rest of his life behind bars with no plea agreements. That's what he should be doing. That's what you know what? Let's just finish the story. Let's just finish the story because we have a connection that we're going to tie in right after this.
He looked at me, he smiled. Marley boy was the best. Kumba. What? You're getting fucking soft. You worried about what you did? I said, I'm not getting soft, bro, but we're getting crazy now. I think you're getting fucking soft. Give me that fucking gun before you commit suicide. I'm not committing suicide. Don't worry about me. And we left. So that's a story of that. Our welcoming the neighborhood. Were we truly recognized in who we were and liked by the neighborhood? For weeks. I think they will go 2-3 blocks out of the way just not to walk by our luncheonette. And that's the end of that story. We did a million things after that. You'll hear a lot of Alley Boy stories.
We know.
He passed on, as you know. And every time I sit down and relax, I think about him. I think about that little smirk. I think about how crazy he was. He made me fucking nuts. But I miss him. Adios, amigo.
So this all had some ramifications. This definitely did. Everything that he's talking about right now had some ramifications, especially because they moved into the unions. They moved into pretty much every industry that we had that was set up with all the infrastructure. They moved into. They moved into construction. They moved into banking. They moved into unions. They moved into sports. They moved into pretty much anything that they could get their hands on, including politics. Mikey said 140 to 144 billion dollars for its 5 state pension systems, with funding ratios around 45 to 50%, meaning it has less than half the funds needed for promised benefits. That's a huge, huge deficit. Having less than half of what you need is a huge deficit. I don't care what anybody says on any metric. Having less than half of what you actually need is a problem. And it's all because of this. This is the hidden part of politics. This is the hidden part of unions and why we're being taxed through the gills in these major cities. And just about all of them, we're being taxed crazy because they don't have money because this is where it went. Imagine where we would be if we didn't have that hanging around our necks. Yeah, we'd be a lot farther. We're talking about 75, 80 billion dollars, 75 to 80 billion dollars that's just being held up this way. And it's being held up this way, and this segues us into the next part. So they moved into the Chicago mob. That's what they did. They moved into the Chicago mob, and some of these people are still active today in 2025. And obviously we're gonna let you see about it. They moved up into this, and some of these people are still active today, and we're gonna see about them too.
When people think of Chicago, they picture deep dish pizza, towering skyscrapers, and a city.
First of all, that wasn't deep dish pizza. And as a Chicagoan, I'm gonna tell you, we don't all sit around and eat deep dish pizza all day. That's actually a once in a while type thing for most Chicagoans. And for most of us, that's not even our favorite type of pizza. What you guys call tavern style has been around for ages. That is what the majority of us eat, is what you guys call tavern style. So I'm just letting you guys know that before we continue, because I'm a bit of a pizza fiend myself, and deep dish is not what I'm always going to. It's not my favorite, and I don't really know too many people who it is their favorite. There are some, but they're definitely in the minority. So they always say Chicago style pizza. All the pizza in Chicago is Chicago style pizza, not just deep dish. Say, remember him saying about, yeah, he told the United States Senate that they were in garbage collection, they were in unions, they were in construction, they were in the school system, they were in the local governments. They dominated infrastructure in these cities. I would hazard a guess they dominated infrastructure across most of the developed United States. These guys retired like kings. They didn't just retire like kings; they lived like kings too. He $8 million a week. He was bringing in He testified to the United States Senate that he was bringing in $8 million a week, which means he's probably bringing in double that. Just be honest. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. And that 8 million in a 1 month is a lot of money. 8 million in 1 month is a lot of money. We're talking about $32 million a month or more is what we're talking about. 32 every month for 12 months. And that's just 1 year. Imagine how many years he was active before he got caught. Over 20 years of being active without being caught. So let's move into what happened with the Chicago mob and how it's still active today.
Rich in history, but beneath that lively surface hides a ruthless underworld. On a cold night off Wolf Road in Westchester, the lifeless body of a 36-year-old Richard N. DiPrizio.
Mikey said, Rod Blago was one of them alley boys. His gang was called, no joke, the Gaylords. Yes, I remember during his case, they brought this up, but they really shoved it under the rug, didn't they? They really did shove the Gaylords under the rug. But yeah, Rod was. And as you guys are well aware, Rod Blagojevich, former governor of Illinois, is pretty good friends with Donald Trump and got a pardon from Donald Trump to get out of jail early. Donald Trump was also mentioned by Sammy the Bull Gravano in his testimony in 1993 to the United States Senate. Said it doesn't matter now, he's pardoned. Yeah, again, he got pardoned by Donald Trump. You know, I'm glad that you said something about that. But yeah, he got pardoned by Donald Trump. And that does make a difference. Guys, you have to start connecting the dots here. There are connected people who are running the country and basically running it into the ground because they can. They all live like kings, all of them. If you've seen their houses, if you've seen the types of things they do, the money that they spend, and then they want to sell you this myth of living underneath. Oh, you know, just be a little bit more meager, you know, don't buy the designer and don't do that. And they try to villainize it and say, oh, because you like nice things, then you're just you're just materialistic. You're materialistic. So was it materialistic when you bought a $12 million estate, or when you bought a golf course? You bought a country club and made it your house. It starts to get ridiculous that the same people that are telling us to live more modest lifestyles are the ones that are running it up with our tax dollars. Yet we keep giving them these seats that people want to vote for them. But we're going to find out. This is what's going on in Chicago right now. We've connected the dots, guys. This giant spider web of La Cosa Nostra that has been infecting the lifeblood of the United States over the last, I don't know, 100 some plus years is still infecting them today. This is modern day Chicago, and these are the people that are involved.
Was found in a parking lot.
Allegedly.
His head riddled with gunshots. This wasn't random. It was an execution, a deadly message from the outfit to silence him before he could testify in a high-stakes fraud trial. Chicago's mob scene isn't a relic of the past. It's alive and deadly. Stick around as we uncover the mafia families still running the streets of Chicago in 2025 and the shocking stories that prove their grip is far from over. 1. Chicago outfit. Chicago is considered the most gang-occupied city in the United States, with over 150,000 gang-affiliated individuals spread across more than 100 gangs. What's special about Chicago outfit was how they were able to control key areas like Elmwood Park, Melrose Park, Chicago Heights, Rush Street, Grand Avenue, and even Chinatown, creating a vast network of criminal enterprises. One of the earliest figures to centralize power in Chicago's criminal world was Big Jim Colosimo. Born in Calabria, Italy in 1878, he immigrated to Chicago in 1895 and quickly established himself as a key player in organized crime. By 1909, he'd gained enough power to challenge the Black Hand organizations, thanks in part to bringing Johnny Torrio from New York to Chicago. But Colosimo wasn't just about muscle. He was also a master strategist. But what happened next? Johnny Torrio, Al Capone came into the dark business, and the bloody battles for control over the city's underworld became imminent. Torrio's organization was largely made up of Italian immigrants, but unlike other gangs, he welcomed criminals from different backgrounds, even bringing in gangsters from New York. Among them was a young and ambitious Al Capone. who arrived in Chicago in 1919 under orders from mob boss Frankie Yale. Capone started at the Four Deuces Club as a doorman, but his intelligence and business acumen quickly made him Torrio's right-hand man. By 1924, Capone had built a reputation, both for making money and for expanding the gang's control over illegal operations, particularly in brothels. Despite his power, Capone couldn't outrun the law forever. In 1931, he was convicted of tax.
So if you guys don't know, Alphonse Capone actually succumbed to his illness, which was syphilis. So him running brothels probably wasn't the best idea. It looks like he was patronizing those brothels as well. Mikey says, and to think these people weren't even white until the 20s. Yeah, they weren't. They weren't even considered white until the 20s. We're talking about these Italians that are coming over here.
Tax evasion and sentenced to 11 years in federal prison. He served time at Alcatraz, but his health rapidly declined due to syphilis. In 1947, Capone died of heart failure, marking the end of an era of organized crime that forever changed Chicago's history. When Al Capone was in prison, his trusted associate, Frank Needy, upon his release in 1932, took over as the official boss of the outfit. But behind the scenes, it was Paul Riccia who really called the shots. Even the leaders of the National Crime Syndicate dealt directly with Riccia, making him the true power in Chicago's criminal world for the next 40 years. During this period, the outfit expanded its operation.
So that means that his from 47 to 87, one guy was in charge of all of the organized crime that was going through Chicago. That's crazy to even think about. For 40 years, this guy lived like a king on top of the crime in the city of Chicago. That's a really long time, guys. Some people watching this were already alive while this guy was still running things in the 80s. And to think that if he was able to operate for 40 years at the brutal way that they were operating, we're talking about St. Valentine's Day Massacre and everything else, Prohibition and everything else, all the way into the 80s, late 80s, that didn't hurt the city. Yeah, it did.
Beyond bootlegging. They moved into labor racketeering, gambling, and loan sharking, extending their influence beyond Chicago.
So, Mikey, if you're watching, how many industries are we involved with yet when it comes to them? How many industries have they taken over so far? They just said they were involved with the labor industry. They were involved with organized gambling. Like, we got to go back and listen to it one more time. How many industries have they taken over?
Next 40 years. During this period, the outfit expanded its operations beyond bootlegging. They moved into labor racketeering, gambling, and loan sharking, extending their influence beyond Chicago to Milwaukee, Kansas City, and even Hollywood. Controlling labor unions gave them leverage over the motion picture industry. Not only that, in the early 1940s, top outfit members were caught extorting Hollywood studios. Riccia wanted Needy to take the fall for this, but Needy, fearing another prison sentence, chose to end his own life. Riccia then became the official boss, with Tony Accardo as his underboss, a partnership that lasted nearly 3 decades. Around this time,
also, I'm going to point out that they said that he took his own life. I don't really believe that because, I mean, they were notorious Catholics, and you guys know what the Catholics think about, self-deletion. I'm going to say they decided that they're going to pin it on him and take him out and then move the next guy in because those are the breaks.
the outfit also recruited members from the violent 42 gang, including infamous figures like Sam Giancana and Felix Alderizio. Although Riccia was eventually sent to prison.
I know you guys recognize the name Sam Giancana, don't you? Little dirty Jersey Shore addicts.
In 1943, political connections helped secure his release just 3 years later. Because of parole restrictions, Riccia had to avoid direct contact with mobsters, so Accardo stepped in as the public face of the organization. In reality, the two shared power behind the scenes, ensuring the outfit's continued dominance. By the 2000s, law enforcement had significantly weakened the outfit, but it still operated behind the scenes. In 2005, Operation Family Secrets led to the arrest of 14 members, including Joseph Lombardo and James Marcello. One of them, Nicholas Calabrese,
Guys, this is 2005 so far. We're getting there.
Became the first member of the outfit to testify against the organization, exposing decades of criminal activity.
It took 70 years. I have to make myself bigger for this. It took 70 years for one person to testify against La Cosa Nostra, the Chicago outfit in Chicago. That means for 70 years, they ran dozens of industries in the city of Chicago, in Milwaukee, in Kansas City, in St. Louis, in Indiana, in Iowa, in Michigan, all of Detroit, all the way to Minnesota, and back to New York, Hollywood, Las Vegas, Georgia, and Miami. This is ridiculous. Yeah, we did. I was actually really good friends with Kevin. Rest in peace, Kevin. Kevin died when we were 13 years old. He got hit well, I wasn't there that day, which is great. He was leading the pack. I heard about it the next day. He got hit by a car while they were riding across the street on their bikes. But we definitely did go to school with them. They definitely are related, and he always talked about it. That's a sad point to go along with it. It's been a long time since Kevin passed, but the rest of them, yeah, we knew them too. The family members that were involved, and they didn't have quote unquote anything to do with the guy, but that was definitely his family.
Today, the Chicago outfit is a shadow of its former self. As of 2007, it was estimated to have around 28 core members and over 100 associates. From 1996 to 2018, it was believed to be led by John DeFranzo. As of 2021 till today, Salvatore De Laurentiis is rumored to be in charge of running the underworld shots. Outfit doesn't run alone in the heart of Chicago. They run things in the shadows with our number 2, the Genovese crime family. The Genovese crime family's origins also trace back to a bloody chapter in New York's underworld, beginning with the Morello gang of East Harlem, the city's first mafia family. It all started in 1892 when Giuseppe Morello arrived from Corleone, Sicily, soon joined by his half-brothers Nicholas, Vincenzo, and Ciro. Together, they built the formidable 107th Street mob, swiftly dominating East Harlem, parts of Manhattan, and the Bronx. Their influence grew through ruthless enforcement and criminal enterprises, cementing their place as a feared force in the city's emerging mafia scene. A key figure in Morello's empire was Ignazio the Wolf Lupa, a notorious mobster who controlled Manhattan's Little Italy. In 1903, Lupo strengthened his ties to the Morello family by marrying Giuseppe's half-sister, forming a powerful alliance. That same year, they launched a major counterfeiting operation, flooding Chicago and other parts of the U.S. with fake currency in collaboration with Sicilian mafia boss Vito Casciaferro. But their growing empire caught the attention of Detective Joseph Petrosino, who was investigating their involvement in counterfeiting, extortion, and a string of grisly murders known as the Barrel Murders. Their reign was abruptly halted in 1909 when Morello, Lupo, and their associates were...
So, as you guys are well aware of, the Barrel Murders are exactly what they were. They were finding bottles in empty barrels of what could only be considered contraband at the time.
Were arrested, leading to lengthy prison sentences that left the gang vulnerable to rivals. With Morello and Lupo out of the picture, power struggles erupted, culminating in the Mafia Camorra War, a violent battle between the Morellos and Neapolitan gangs from Brooklyn. The conflict escalated when key ally Giuseppe Gallucci was assassinated in 1915, triggering a wave of ambushes and assassinations. Nicholas Morello and his bodyguard were gunned down in 1916. But the tide turned in 1917 when police cracked down on the Camorra, effectively dismantling their power. By the 1920s, Prohibition transformed the underworld, sparking a new war for control over bootlegging operations. Later, Morello and Lupa came out of prison, but found themselves targeted by Brooklyn Mafia boss Salvatore Diaghia, igniting a fresh round of bloodshed. But a rising force, an ally, Giuseppe Joe Masseria, emerged victorious, eliminating these rivals. He became the foundation for what turned out to be the powerful Genovese crime family. By 1950, the U.S. Senate launched a groundbreaking investigation into organized crime. The hearings exposed deep-rooted ties between the mafia and politicians. This sent shockwaves across the nation. One of the most notorious figures caught in the crossfire was crime boss Frank Costello. He was convicted of contempt of the Senate and was sentenced to 18 months in prison. Investigators also...
AKA one of the Godfathers.
Also unearthed his connections to New York's political machine, Tammany Hall. Likewise, suspicions arose about politician Carmine DeSapio aiding him behind the scenes. At that point, Costello's troubles escalated. In 1952, he was indicted on federal charges for tax evasion, accused of dodging over $73,000 in income taxes. Consequently, he received a 5-year prison sentence and a hefty fine. That triggered years of legal battles as he contested convictions and repeatedly posted bail. But while he was tangled in courtrooms, a dangerous rival lurked in the shadows, Vito Genovese. Once Costello's second in command, Genovese had been biding his time, nursing a grudge after being demoted while in exile. With the backing of the ruthless Carlo Gambino, Genovese made his move, orchestrating an assassination attempt on Costello in 1957. A single bullet narrowly missed, but the message was clear. It's time. You, Costello, resign or retire. Following this up, Costello's force was weakened and his ally, Albert Anastasia, was gunned down. He had no choice but to step aside, allowing Genovese to take control. Eager to assert his dominance, Genovese organized a massive mafia summit in Appalachian, New York, a miscalculation that ended in a chaotic police raid and mass arrests. The fallout left Genovese vulnerable, and Costello, in a final act of revenge, partnered with Gambino to set him up in a drug trafficking sting. By 1959, Genovese was behind bars, and Gambino emerged as New York's most powerful crime boss. But, as history has shown, the mafia never sleeps. Power shifts, more alliances happen, and the underworld continues till today. The most noticeable difference in Chicago is seeing some gangs coming together as one. For instance, the Folk Nation. The Folk Nation isn't just another gang, it's an alliance. And the mastermind behind it, Larry Hoover, the leader of the Gangster Disciples. Now, how did this even happen? Well, Chicago's gang scene became so intense. Rivalries weren't just about turf, they were about survival. Larry Hoover, the leader of the Black Gangster Disciples, took a stand in Statesville Prison. He organized a work stoppage because prisoners were getting rotten food and treated terribly. Even rivals of his gang joined in. After that, gangs that didn't have issues with Hoover started coming together, forming what became the Folk Nation behind bars. For real. He brought together Black, white, and Latino gangs under one umbrella. Fast forward to 1979, and this alliance was becoming tighter. The Simon City Royals, one of the groups involved, decided to call it Folks. From that point on, any gang in this alliance was called Folks. By 1980, the Folks had some serious structure behind bars, and the term started spreading to the streets. Adding more juice to this history, let's talk about 1980. Ronnie Mad Dog Carrasquillo and Victor King Vic Gomez created the concept of the Spanish Gangster Disciple, which brought together Hispanic gangs under the Folks banner. Larry Hoover oversaw this move, and the whole alliance started to solidify. By 1981, a major meeting happened between the Simon City Royals and Black Gangster Disciples to make the alliance even more official. In 1981, Michael Mickey Bull Johnson and Richard Cold Black Doherty's were released from prison, and they helped spread the knowledge of Folks to the streets. They also divided up the public housing projects between the Black Disciples and Black Gangster Disciples.
Again, and I'm going to point this out here, and I'm glad that I did. The mafia, La Cosa Nostra, had their hands in Chicago gangs. All of them. All of them. And from what we're finding out, they still do. So we're gonna keep watching it.
Helping to clear up some confusion. The Folks weren't just a prison thing. They were spreading their influence on the streets with a whole set of symbols and fashion trends. They represented the right side, while the People Nation represented the left. The 1980s into the 90s was the height of the Folk Nation's power, with top gang leaders regularly posing together, almost like family. Though they might have reduced in numbers by the late 90s, some mobsters are still disturbing the streets. For instance, Lima and Thompson, two members of the notorious Folk Nation gang, are still very active in Brownsville. There was a time they were on a cruise driving in their neighborhood. One thing led to the other among the rival gangs. Before you know what's going on, someone was shot in the shoulder and even grazed in the back. Can you imagine the kind of fear that would bring to a neighborhood? This incident happened a few years back, eventually leading to a court arraignment in 2021. Fast forward to 2022, and the Folk Nation gangsters were still making headlines. In a case that really shook people, 7 members and associates of the gang were charged in connection with a drive-by shooting on Father's Day. This wasn't just a random event. There were firearms offenses tied to it as well. The case went to court in 2024, showing that the gang's influence and violence aren't going away anytime soon. Similarly, we see their rivals uniting as well. For real. It's crazy to see these gangs forming alliances, causing chaos and brewing violence in the communities. Now we need to discuss the People Nation. This is another active and influential gang alliance that continues to shape the street dynamics in the 21st century. Before we discuss this gang, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Mob Boss. The People Nation was founded in 1981 as a response to the growing power of the Folk Nation. People Nation brought together gangs like the Latin Kings, Vice Lords, Black P. Stones, Mickey Cobras, and El Ruckins. What set them apart was their unique blend of spiritual influences, combining Islamic and Christian beliefs to create a strong sense of brotherhood. This alliance remained tightly knit during the 1980s, but by the 1990s, internal conflicts and turf wars began to fracture the unity they once had. The violence tied to People Nation hasn't been confined to the past. In 2016, the tragic death of 9-year-old Tyshawn Lee in Chicago made national headlines.
Yes, it did.
Tyshawn was lured into an alley and brutally murdered in what authorities described as a gang-related retaliation involving members of the Vice Lords, part of the People Nation Alliance. His father was believed to be the intended target, but instead, innocent blood was spilled, highlighting the heartbreaking impact of gang violence on families and communities. Another tragic case occurred in 2020 when 13-year-old Adam Toledo was shot and killed during a police chase in Chicago's Little Village neighborhood, an area heavily influenced by Latin Kings activity. Adam was believed to have been associated with local gang members, caught in an environment where young lives are often pulled into dangerous situations. His death sparked widespread protests and reignited debates about youth, policing, and gang influence in urban areas. Despite decades of internal conflicts and shifting alliances, People Nation gangs remain active in cities across the U.S. In recent times, they've continued to be involved in violent conflicts, often fueled by long-standing rivalries. For instance, they were responsible for 3 gang-related murders, which were triggered by their rivals. Following that murder, members of the People Nation gangs allegedly began seeking out those responsible, aiming to retaliate for their comrade's death. This cycle of violence escalated tensions between rival groups, leading to more bloodshed and devastation within the affected communities. The reach and criminal activities of People Nation gangs continue to result in major federal prosecutions. In April 2024, 3 high-ranking members of the Almighty Vice Lord Nation, AVLN, a prominent gang within the People Nation Alliance, were sentenced in federal court after being convicted of RICO conspiracy, murder, drug trafficking, and weapons charges. Terry Douglas, 44, of Detroit, who held the title of Chief and served as the Michigan leader of the traveling Vice Lords, received a 60-year prison sentence. His role was pivotal in coordinating gang operations across the state, including violent acts tied to drug.
Notice that these guys that are even at a lower level than some of the guys on the top are getting much heavier sentences than guys who are admitting that they brutalized hundreds, if not thousands, of people over the years.
Distribution and territorial disputes. Schuler Ballou, 31, also from Detroit, known as the Universal Elite, and the Detroit leader of the traveling Vice Lords, was sentenced to 60 years in prison. Ballou was deeply involved in managing the gang's drug trafficking network and orchestrating acts of violence to maintain control over their territories. Devin Baskerville, 34, from Detroit, who held the influential role of chief enforcer for the traveling Vice Lords, received the harshest sentence, 70 years in prison. As chief enforcer, Baskerville was responsible for carrying out violent orders, ensuring discipline within the gang, and eliminating rivals through brutal tactics. These convictions reflect that there are more organized crimes ongoing within the People's Nation Alliance. Despite the leadership being behind bars, the influence of these gangs persist, with younger members often stepping in to fill the void. For
That's exactly what's going to happen. They're not going to give up just because you arrested their leader.
instance, the Goonies Gang, the Street Lords. The Goonies Gang is a street gang based in Chicago, Illinois, known for its involvement in violent criminal activities. In 2018, a joint federal and state investigation led to the indictment of several gang members. This investigation uncovered the gang's deep involvement in numerous crimes, including multiple murders, which had a significant impact on the safety and well-being of local communities. The Goonies Gang's actions terrorized the Inglewood neighborhood on Chicago's South Side massively. They engaged in various illegal activities to maintain their power and influence. They stole firearms to arm themselves, ensuring they had the weapons needed to carry out their crimes and protect their territory. In an effort to avoid law enforcement scrutiny, they also intimidated witnesses, using threats and violence to prevent people from cooperating with the authorities. Adding to their notoriety, gang members often bragged about their criminal activities on social media, showcasing their actions without fear of legal consequences. This not only fueled their reputation, but also served as a way to instill fear within their rivals and the communities they operated in. Their violent activities disrupted daily life, leaving lasting effects on the residents who had to live under the constant threat of gang-related crime. Overall, apart from these 5 major active gangs, there are countless other organized crime groups operating in Chicago, each with their own power struggles, criminal enterprises, and influence. On this note, we want you to know that the world of organized crime is always evolving. So, subscribe to Mob Boss, because there's always more to uncover.
You guys can head over to Mob Boss when you get a chance to subscribe to them. You find out more about what's going on there. But as you guys can see, the La Cosa Nostra is not dead, and it has been active in multiple cities all over the United States for many years. Chicago especially, New York especially, and all the previously aforementioned named ones. But this is what's going on. This is why everyone keeps saying that we have no money. You know, it's actually kind of disgusting if you ask me. You know, I can't stand it. You would think You would think that after so many years, the government would step in and do something, but no, the government is allowing these people to do this because they're all in government. They're all in government. I would I'm gonna shift our gears a little bit and you know if you guys got anything for me about this, let me know because there's some stuff that I could definitely pull up. But from everything that we've seen, our government is just as complicit as the mob itself, and in a lot of areas, in a lot of places, the mob might be the government. They're involved in everything that has to do with commerce. They're involved with everything that has to do with infrastructure. It's almost impossible to win. I'm gonna have to cover this on a part 2 or a part 3. I'm definitely gonna have to do that. Why don't we head over to the taco verse, and it's time for random story time of the day on the taco verse, guys. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, we're gonna start here. It's a random story time of the day. We don't know what's gonna happen. We don't know what's gonna be said. Disclaimer for the test down that whatever they say does not have anything to do with the Test Down Show or any of the affiliates of the Test Down Show or any of the other shows that I've appeared on. This is not the opinion of the Test Down Show. This is a random story time from a random creator on TikTok, and we have not watched it. Make sure you guys get your questions in for chat Q&A because it is random story time and it's time for chat Q&A.
So I was waxing a male client, and he was telling me that he had found my Tickety Talks and my social media, and I was like, "Oh, yay me!" And he was like, "I've got a story for you." I was like, "Oh, okay, shoot, go for it. Tell me everything." He goes, "So I started dating this lady. Mind you, little background. He is a lawyer, like a high-powered lawyer, and this lady was also a high-powered lawyer." So he goes and he says that they started dating, whatever, everything's great, yada, yada. Cool. He says that they got to second base. And when they were in second base, she starts talking about her fantasies. Now, one of her fantasies was that she wanted him.
Are you going to wax yourself on live?
Somebody that she's dating to commit a B&E in her house. Now, if you're not up with prison TikTok, that would be breaking and so in that process, he was like, I don't know if I'm able or comfortable to do that. And she was like, please, I want somebody to commit a B&E and then grape me.
Listen, guys. I don't care what she looks like. I don't care what anybody looks like. Please do not fall for this type of stuff. Don't do it. Please do not fall for this type of stuff. Do not go committing any horrible acts of fantasy for people because it could land you in a lot of hot water. So don't do it. I hope you're all smarter than that.
And I was like, she wanted you to do what now? I was like, I've only heard that. Take a look at that. I was like, I've only ever heard of that in like my book talks. You know what I mean? Like, that's the only time that I have ever heard of that happening. People want you to do that in real life. He's like, I don't know. I was going to ask you, do people want you to do that in real life? And I was like, well, obviously you've met the person who wants you to do that. Are you going to? Like, are you going to? It's a fair question. I want to know, are you going to do it? And he's like, honestly, I don't think so because there are so many legalities going into that. He's like, that's at least a couple of felonies. And I'm like, but like, can you get her to sign documentation that maybe she's okay with it? Like NDA. And he's like, NDAs do not protect against that. And I was like, okay, well, so what do you think you're gonna do? He's like, I don't think I could do it. I don't think I can come like do this for her. And also, I don't think that this would be like I would be scared for the rest of my life. Like, what if that came back to bite me in the ass? And I'm like, you know what? She sounds like she wants to be bitten in the ass.
Just break up with the lady.
That ain't on me. I'm like, well, I mean, there has to be like a legal, mind you, I'm waxing my armpits, and
we see.
Obviously I'm not doing this how I would do this on a client. This is just on my own body. Anyway, I'm like, but so I'm asking y'all, is there like y'all ever encountered this before? Y'all like, do you sign paperwork? I don't know. Oh, I got it everywhere. Like, can you sign paperwork? I'm sure if Diddy could do it, you could do it.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
Consensually, of course.
We're not doing the stuff
I
that
don't
Diddy
know.
did.
Look at that. Look at how crazy my hairs have grown. It doesn't look like I have a lot, but I definitely do. You know what? I love waxing. Submit your stories, guys. I need more like this. I need to know. Are you guys committing B&Es on the weekend to sexually gratify your partner?
That's going to be a big no from me. We're not doing that. We're not going to do any of that stuff. Conversations with Soft Rain said, what's the question? Just came back in. So the woman that we just saw waxing her armpits asked a question to a client that was a lawyer that came in. It was a male. And he said he started dating another lawyer. And she asked him if he would commit a B&E on her house and grape her. And he's asking if he asked the waxing lady if she had ever heard anything about this, or if this is something that women like. And she didn't really want to dive into it because it seems a little bit weird, but she told him, like, there's got to be some paperwork you can sign. And he was like, no, ain't no paperwork to protect you against that. Those are felonies. And he'd obviously be disbarred and stuff like that. It could just be a setup, especially if he's an opposing lawyer for a job. Yeah. Her name on TikTok is The Real with Ray. That's RAE. The Real with Ray. If you want to check that out, you go ahead and do it on your own. No problems there. But that is what she said that she wanted him to do. And my advice is, if you meet somebody that has like a weird fetish like that and you don't know whether it's legal for you to even do it, you probably shouldn't, because it seems to be a setup. If it seems like you could go to jail for it, you probably shouldn't do it. That's just my advice. No one has to take my advice because I am not legal counsel for anyone, but I definitely am somebody who would not want to go to jail for, I don't know, a fantasy being fulfilled by somebody else. I'm gonna have to agree with other people on saying that no, you should not do this, and it's a bad idea. So that was random story time of the day, and I got something for you guys before we get up out of here. This is a PSA from the Raw Society Coalition. This is some of the other channels from the people that are going to be doing the show that we're going to be in on the February the 13th. The Raw Society Coalition is the channel on YouTube. Classic Codes is also Souls of Thought, Uncle Plug TV, Conversation with Soft Rain. You are here right now on the test down. But all of these other channels you can check out. They have their own content. They talk about the type of things they want to talk about. We're going to be doing a show live in Chicago, the same Chicago that we just talked about. We're going to be doing a show live in Chicago on February 13th. Make sure you guys go to the Raw Society Coalition page or go to my Instagram page. As you can see in the bottom of the ticker, it is Soul Reaper 24 across the internet. You can click the link in the bio. It's an Eventbrite link to buy tickets. Tickets right now are on sale at a discounted rate because they're early bird tickets. I believe that changes after the first of the year. I'm not 100% positive, so don't quote me. But please go and get your early bird ticket, and I would love to see all of you guys there. We will be doing meet and greets. If you guys want to purchase any merchandise that might be there, we'll be selling merchandise there. You'll have a live rap show. And in between intermission, you'll probably have that as well. It's gonna be funny, guys. It's gonna be more lighthearted. It's not gonna be, political issues or anything like that. We urge everyone to stay as authentic as possible, but this is supposed to be a fun event. Nobody's gonna get mad. We're not gonna be tackling ridiculous hard button issues that are gonna make your girlfriend or your wife or the girl that you're eyeing across the table at the event upset with you and not want to give you some on Valentine's Day. So I'm gonna play a video. It's a promo video from it. You guys can see one of the performing artists, as well as us on when they came up to visit us in Chicago. So us walking around some prominent places in Chicago, the Chicago outlets, as you guys may not be familiar with. Here you go. Here's a video from that day.
And one thing they hate worse than you having that glow is when you know you got that glow. They don't like that. They don't like that at all. So give them a reason to keep hating on us. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, oil farming, how I'm up in rank. Step in the room, they paid away. I get treated like a milli tank. Southpaw like I'm really tank. I do things that they really can't. Envious, cause they really ain't. I'ma win any type of way. That's a parlay you could take to the bank. That's a parlay you could take to the bank. Know some people I love, put some smut on my name. Real life, I'ma still love them the same. I'ma love them.
Make sure you guys go check out these channels as well as my own. As you can see, the Eventbrite is there. I'm gonna click it for us. I'm gonna click it. The Eventbrite is here, and this is the event: Singles and Soulmates Valentine's Day panel featuring a concert with B Class. Make sure you guys go ahead and check that out. As you can see, there's the lineup for it there. We're also going to have a dope MC and Mr. McBride that's going to be there. Here's the highlights. There's free parking as well. No refunds. But early bird tickets are on sale right now. It's going to be a nice, fun event. You guys are going to be able to chill and hang out. It's going to be great. I would love to see you guys there and all the people that can make it. If you can't, just let me know. But that's been True Crime Monday. I'm 24. Tomorrow's episode is going to be kind of interesting, guys. It's a Tuesday. So it's going to be pretty interesting. We're going to go back into more of our regular flow of things. We may or may not have a special guest. But if not, you always get me. You always get Tez. I'm 24. It's been 24. I will see you guys in another 24. Make sure you go to those places to get your tickets. Check out the other constituents to make sure that you can check them out. They're going to be live a little bit later on today. There is a No Middleman podcast tonight on the Souls of Thought channel. That's Souls, like the bottom of your shoe. That is Souls. Go ahead and check them out. And I appreciate you guys for coming through. As always, I love you guys. Thank you for allowing me to do what I do. And, if you guys want to check out any of the ticker at the bottom, I got all types of information there. Thank you so much once again. It's been good. You guys have helped me so much and renew my mind and make me want to be here every day. This is one of my favorite places to be, right here talking to you guys and going over things. If you guys think that we need another Mafia episode to cover even more of it, because there's a whole lot, almost 150 years to cover, you guys let me know offline in the comment section of the chat when the chat goes live. Hey, Billy, thanks for coming through, man. I appreciate you so much. Kay had one. We're gonna go through here. Was there a question of the day? I didn't see any questions, but Kay definitely said, even without being set up, that's just weird and can't be healthy. It's not, Kay. It's not. Conversation with Soft Rain agrees with you. Right. Follow on Facebook, IG, and TikTok. That's going to be the Raw Society Coalition channel, as well as my channel. I'm Soul Reaper 24 across them. Get some of that merch. Merch is going to be good. There's merch on the website as well. There's merch on the social media pages for the Raw Society Coalition. As you guys can see, there's pretty cool stuff right there. The logo, the hoodie, the hat, the shirt, all that's pretty cool stuff. And I like it just because, like, even if you're just, even if you guys are like, oh, I'm not digging all the content, just, grab some of that. Say you support Tez. I appreciate you. Until then, it's been 24. I'm 24. I'm Tez. This is the Tez Down. We ran it down today, guys. We're going to do it again tomorrow. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I'm the Tez. I'm the Tez.
Welcome to the Tez Down.
Welcome.
Finally, Tez.
Mic check 1 2. Welcome.
Welcome to the Tez Down.
Party time.